Shalom, shalom, it's the brother Kadash. Want to start off by giving our praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Kadash. Just getting straight into it. So, if you've seen our last camp, that was a very powerful camp. So, we were going down the camp with, we already had some set up with a topic set up that we wanted to teach on. But a brother came down there, like, an elder to us. We call him the name of the camp is called, breaking down the truth to Unc or something like that, right? And then he came down there and kind of like that's where the spirit led us to go in on the topics that he wanted to go into, which was breaking down the truth. But one of the things I noticed that he said that I remembered that he was asking the question, we was breaking down the truth to him, it was sounding good and everything like that. But he was asking, okay, but how do we actually put this into effect? I hear you saying like this is our solution, this is what we need to do. But he kept asking like, how do we actually start doing that, right? And I felt that because that's a question that I asked myself, even being a part of the truth. That's one of the things that I was on a journey to figure out is, okay, I hear all this, you got to do this, you got to do that. But all I see is, not everybody, but all I see is most of the people that say they in the truth, all they doing is going on the highways and byways once a week and they're just teaching and doing videos, right? And then maybe behind closed doors, they're trying to keep the law, statutes, commandments to the best of their ability. So I said, okay, but how do we actually start doing things as a nation? Not as a group of 500, not as a group of 1,000 people, not as a group of 100 people, as a nation, right? Because the law, statutes, commandments isn't just given to your group of 500 men or 1,000 men or 2,000 or 5,000 men. It's given to the nation, right? So, and then even like we already been through the numbers. Even if you say 1/3 of the Israelites in America is going to be saved, that's millions. You see what I'm saying? So that's a fact. Man lie, woman lie, numbers don't lie. So this is why the Lord deals with numbers a lot. But and that was a good question. You know what I mean? Because it's like we actually got to live this and start putting these things together. I pretty much was telling him it is happening, amongst the camps and stuff like that. But in reality, when I really look at it, not so much. Some of them is better than others. I give you that, but I kind of was just telling him that's going to happen when all hell break loose. We're going to have to band together eventually. And then that's when a lot of these things are going to come into a play. But that goes into what I'm saying. Like, it's like the question he was asking is not just talking about it, but it's actually living it, And then, driving around today, you know what I mean? Just noticing things, noticing our people, how our people is treated in the city, noticing the Romans, just like that movie, The Book of Clarence, how you had the Roman officers and the soldiers that was just pretty much strolling around asking people to see their ID. I see that today. You see that just walking outside. You see that just going outside, in your local city. You see that. So the same way they were saying it was in that movie, that's how it is today. That's why I connected so much to us, right? And not just questions just start coming to my head like, why do our people want to live amongst these people so bad? Why do our people want to be around these people, want to depend on these people so bad? We're one of the richest nations, really. Somebody's calling me. Sorry. We're like one of the richest nations. Just if you take the black population, we're richer than a lot of other populations around the world. Why can't we put our money together and just build a community? Whether it be in the wilderness somewhere, because you got the brothers say, don't leave Mystery Babylon. You got to be here. Well, we could still, there's land out there for sale. We could build our own communities, kind of like what Pastor Dow is doing. You know what I mean? Just not with the other nations. You know what I mean? We're doing that to separate from them, not to still be with them. You know what I mean? Why don't we start doing that stuff? I was driving, I seen like a construction zone, and I seen a brother out there. He had a beard. Brother was out there doing work. On the construction site, right on the job site. But then I seen like 3-4 Edomites that were standing to the side. And I could just notice them. They was just watching the brother. They was just watching them. Probably talking under their breath shit about him. Just watching them, seeing what he was doing. Probably laughing at him and shit like that. He was on the other end on his own, actually doing the work. And then it just hit me like, man, look, we don't have to be a part of the system, bro. We don't have to deal with these things. We sign up for these things. We put ourselves a part of these things. We sign up for a driver's license to drive on the streets. We sign up for, when you're born, you get a birth certificate and stuff like that. Right? And those are things. And then when you get that birth certificate, you giving the state power over your children. Because you don't own your children. DCFS could come take your children at any point in time. They command you that you have to put your kids in some type of school or prove to them that they're getting some type of education. Why do you got to prove anything to them? So that tells you who owns your kids. A judge can make a judgment on if you got to pay child support or how often you get to visit your kids. So that tells you who really owns your kids, man. If you talk about the kids, same thing with your wife. Who really owns your wife? You know what I mean? And really, the government, who really owns your money that's in your pocket? The government. They could come confiscate that money at any point in time. If they even suspect that you did a crime, they could freeze your accounts. They could take your money. If you got a business, if they suspect that something criminal is going on with your business, they could come shut you down until they get done with the investigation. That could be 6 months, 8 months down the road. You can't pay your bills. You know what I mean? Your house. If you don't pay your taxes, they could come take that. You know what I mean? If you don't pay your taxes, period, they could come take you and put you in jail. So who really owns the money? But guess what? It's a whole earth out here, man. The Lord built this whole earth, man. You know, but even if you just talk about America, there's so much land out there. I did trucking. So I know, man, when I was doing trucking, I used to drive over the whole country and I used to see so much vacant land. I'm talking about, so it's more vacant land than there is land that people live on. Like, there's more vacant open space than there is cities and stuff like that. City space. It's so much land out there for sale, man. Just go on, just type in land for sale. And it's another website that I used to look at. It's kind of slipping my head. But you could just type in that and you're going to see so much land for sale. I'm talking about cheap shit. I'm talking about 4 acres for $20,000. You know what I mean? Now, $20,000 might be a lot for one brother, but if you put that together, if you got 20 brothers in your camp, y'all all come up with $1,000, even if it take you a year to come up with it. And you got $20,000, you could go buy 4 acres. You know how much 4 acres is? 4 acres is about the size of 4 football fields put together. That's a lot of land. You know, I done seen 10 acres for $40,000 and stuff like that in Georgia or in Nevada or in Missouri. You know, in areas like that, you can get your own land, man. You can have trade and bartering where you don't have to use cash. They got shit where you could basically live off the grid where when it comes to what is it's called the what's those systems? You guys know what I'm talking about. The not the satellite systems, but it's slipping my head, but you know, where you could get all type of shit. You got water systems that collect rainwater and then it filters it and then it puts you back to the house so you could be able to use the bathroom and then you could use it as water. You know, you buy some land with a pond on it, you could start your own fish farm, so now you got fish. What do niggas like? They like fish, chicken, and fries. Well, guess what? To make fries or potato chips, all you got to do is just grow potatoes. Then you get your seasoning and everything, and then from the potatoes, you can make fries and potato chips and mashed potatoes and baked potatoes. You got all those just if you get if you grow potatoes, right? And then you got a fish. If you get a little pond, which you could make the ponds yourself, right? You could grow fish in there. You could harvest fish, man, and now you got fish. And you get some chickens. Now you got chicken, fish, and fries. That's what niggas like. You get some cows, you got milk, you got steak, you know, you get eggs from chickens or roosters or whatever, you know. So shit, that's all it takes, you know what I mean? And then you could go off grid, man. Those things aren't hard to build, bro, because look what we do for our celebrities. We make them billionaires. We make them billionaires with the black dollar. You know, but you guys don't want to do that because our people want to live off them and depend on them so much, man. Scary, man. But of course, we know if we do those things, then it's going to cause Esau to come up against us. So the excuse is, well, we already tried doing those things. Look at Black Wall Street. And look what it came to an end. We already tried to do those things. Do you not learn from history? We already did those things, and all those things. Every time, look at Black Wall Street. Every time we try to come together and build, it came to an end. Well, my rebuke to that would be is they weren't following the law, statutes, commandments. That's the big key. That's the difference. Black Wall Street, just black people being successful, but they're not following the Lord. Guess what? Curses. But it's a difference if you do it in a way where you are following the Lord, then the Lord is going to add to it. Then you will be blessed with it. That's the difference, man. That's the difference. So yeah, we supposed to be doing those things, having our communities, building our communities ourselves, right? But we got to do it by following the Lord. That has to be the first thing that has to be done. You know, you have to build it off that foundation. You know what I mean? This is James 2, which you guys already know this, right? Straight to the point, 17. Even so, faith, if it has not works, is dead, being alone. Yeah, man may say, thou hast faith and I have works. Show me thy faith without thy works, and I will show thee faith by my works. So this is telling us, like, it's not just going to happen by us saying, okay, we believe, and then let us go out in the highways and byways and get others to believe. We actually going to have to put in work, man. Because what was the Lord doing himself? Was he just having faith, or was he putting in work? Yeah, he was putting in work. Was he just teaching? That's it? Teaching, making videos, going on highways and byways. Was that all that our Lord was doing? No, that was not all that Yahushua was doing. Yahushua was actually healing. He was healing people. What a person that heals somebody, what do we call that today? A doctor, a nurse. He was healing. So he would have had his doctors today. Them putting their money and everything in one pot, selling everything they had. Isn't that what Yahushua said? What's that called? That's called the bank. So they had banks. They had what we would call today a bank, doctors, a hospital, basically what we would call today, right? And wasn't the Lord feeding? I think it was 5,000 or 3,000. Then he feed thousands. What's that called if somebody's feeding somebody? What do we call that today? A grocery store. A grocery store feeds you. You take your money, you take what you had, you go to the grocery store, you get the food. That's them feeding you. They providing the food to you. Yeah, you cook it yourself, but they providing it to you. You got to go to the grocery store to get it, unless you harvest it your own. So you actually got to have these works. We actually got to start doing these things, man. So I get what the brother was saying. You don't see no progress because a lot of these guys in these camps, they just going out teaching. They not really doing anything. They're not really doing anything. They not really, they talking it, teaching it, and then they say behind scenes that they following it. But my thing is, follow what Yahushua did. Did he only do that, or was he actually out there healing people, feeding people? And pretty much that's a bank when you sell everything you got and put it into a pot. So let's go to that. Because this is like a great precept that I don't see many people bring out that much, because it's a hard truth to swallow. You know, it's a hard thing to do. So I was telling bro, this is the answers to our problems. If you don't even need all so-called black people, and we ain't even including our brown brothers, Latinos, Native Americans, but if you get 1 million black people to come together as one, go by, how many acres would it take for 1 million black people to live on? Well, you got millions living in Chicago. That's not really that big of an area, right? So I'm not sure. But let's just say if you bought 100 acres, right? Can you get 1 million people to live on 100 acres? Or no, matter of fact, let's go with the whole Kanye West thing. Kanye West had 2,000 acres, right? You got 2,000 acres. So just imagine 2,000 football fields. That's pretty big. That's a pretty big space. You get 1 million people to live on that land, and then you get your labor to build up that land from the 1 million people, right? You grow your own food. You you're not dependent on the grid, so you got your own. Basically, you set up your own grid, right? Solar panels. That's what it was that I was missing. You got solar panel technology. You got batteries technology, right? And you can set up your own thing, man. These days, you get 1 million people to come together, put their money together. You know how much money 1 million people? If 1 million people came with $1 each, you got $1 million. If 1 million people come with $10 each, you got $10 million. People get income tax. Everybody I know get income tax, and they get $2,000-$3,000 back a year. So you do the number, how much money 1 million people could come up with. Maybe $1 billion, man, over a decent amount of time, man. Right? And you build this place up. Now, this is what they do. This is what your pastors, your preachers, and your churches, and even Brothers in the Truth is doing right now. That same logic that I took with the numbers, they doing that with the truth. If I get 1,000 followers and I get 1,000 people to give me $10, I made 10,000. If I get 1,000 people to give me $100, I made $100,000. You see how it works? It's sad. If I get 1,000 people to give me $1,000, I make $1 million. Now that don't mean I got to get 1,000 people to give me $1,000 in one day. It could be over a year. It could be over 2 years. How many people make $1 million in 2 years? How many people make $1 million in 10 years? It could be over a 10-year span. So they really just using this truth just to make that money, to get rich off of. And it's crazy. But we ain't gonna talk about them though, right? But just imagine 1 million, if you 1 million black people, you don't even need 1 million. You get 100,000. If 100,000 people put $1 in, that's $100,000. They put 10 in, that's $1 million. If you get 100,000 black people to put $100 in, what's that? 10 million? If my math is not off. So you see, being collective, coming together as a group is where your power at. They got us thinking individual. We don't have no power as individuals, man. And I know that you might look at us and say, well, y'all out there individual, but we always been for unity. We're just not for unity for 500 men to come together and then seclude yourself from the rest of the people and say we just dealing with us. We're for unity in the general, in the bigger picture, because we understand that millions of Israelites going to be saved, not just a 5,000 man that's the largest man. No. It's just weird, you know what I mean? So it is things we could do, and I was thinking about those things based off what that brother was asking. Now, Acts 2 is hard pill to swallow for a lot of brothers, right? Now, let's go to Acts 2. Now, let's start at verse 38. Then Peter said unto them, repent and be baptized, every one of you, in the name of Yahushua for the remission of your sins, and ye shall receive the gift of the Holy Ghost. For the promise is unto you, and to your children, and to all that are far off, even as many as the Lord our God shall call. So it's telling you that this is not just about your team, your group, your gang. This is bigger. The promise isn't just for you 5,000 people in your group or your 2,000 people in your group. It's for in general, man. It says with many and with many other words did he testify and exhort, saying, save yourselves from the outward generation. Then they gladly received his word. Then they gladly received his word, were baptized. In the same day there were added into them about 3,000 souls. What camp do you know got 3,000 members in one day, the same day? That shows you how big this is. Now look what this 3,000 people did. And they continue steadfastly in the apostles' doctrine and fellowship and breaking bread and prayer. Now watch this. And fear came upon every soul, and many wonders and signs were done by the apostles, right? Now watch this. And all that believed were together and had all things in common. So we know at least those 3,000, they were together. What does it mean together? Does it mean I'm over here in California, you over here in New York, brother down there, and then we just communicate over the internet? No, they ain't have the internet, man. They were actually together. That's called communities. You call it the ghetto today. But we need to do it in a righteous way, right? And they had all things in common. But how do you get all things in common? Do I get all things in common with a brother that came up in the truth, listening to a different group, and we got different doctrines, and then I just get on YouTube? I defend the truth. I defend the truth by making YouTube videos. Is that how you defend the truth, by making YouTube videos? Where does it say that in the Bible? That you defend the truth by making YouTube videos, or brothers? No, like for real though. Let's stop the bullshit. Let's stop the cult shit. Let's just be honest. It don't say make a YouTube video that's considered defending the truth. Right? So you get all things common by coming together first. Then you start to have, it's a process, man. by coming together. Judah can't just rebuke Issachar and they be separate. And then one day they just gonna wake up and have all things in common and be one together. That's not how it works. Judah and Issachar will have to come together first. Then they start to be one together. If you have a wife, you can't just meet a woman at a bar and say, I can't fuck with you because you not like me. I like you, but we just too different. You just not like me. You not gonna follow my lead. Like we not one together. I don't feel like we're one on card. You just met her at the bar. So how do you come together with your wife? And how do you have all things common with your wife? You know, they start calling her Lil KD. Man, she walk and talk just like him. How does that happen? That happens over time with y'all being together and living together. Then she started to walk like you. Then she started to talk like you. Then she started to think like you. She pick up your habits. Y'all become one together over time. But guess what? Y'all had to come together physically first to achieve that. So no, a camp rebuking another camp, all they gonna look at you as is an enemy. But it's a difference if y'all come together as one and then this is your brother telling you you're going off. Then you may hear it more. You have to come together first. So that's why I've never been against the unity camps, because the unity camps is the start. And it's so simple, man. And the dudes that saying something against it, it's just, they're foolish and they in a cult. Because you can't even understand that simple thing. Well, it's not meant for us to come together. It's not. But the Bible commands us to come together. Have we not read Zephaniah chapter 2? Does it not say assemble yourselves together? Is not the law, statutes, and commandments? Is not the purpose of the law, statutes, and commandments literally for us to be together? Because if I don't kill you, then we're able to dwell together. That means we don't have no hatred. If I don't steal from you, I don't sleep for your wife. So all the law, statutes, commandments is doing is telling us how to be good brothers to each other and be together as one nation, as a people. Stupid. I follow law, statutes, commandments, but I'm not for unity camps. What? That means your mind is caught up too much in this camp shit, man. When it should be about Israel, not ABC camp of Israel. Man, and that's why we still in the situation we in. But in Zephaniah chapter 13, everybody like to act like that's not talking about them. They ain't talking about me, that's talking about the 2/3. But it tells us that the Lord is going to smite the shepherds, and then the sheep should be scattered. Who's the shepherd? The leaders. They're going to smite them. And then the congregation is going to be scattered. And they're going to have to come together as one. Right? It says, and sold their possessions in goods, and parted them to all men as every man need. If we all sell our possessions and our goods, right, and we put it, so you put it into a pot. If you sell your possessions, your goods, you get money back. And then you put that money into a pot. That's a bank. That's called a bank.